Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and P. Bush. How you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Like Zoo and I were talking pre-production, got to hit a baseball game this weekend, much to Zoo's dismay, I'm sure, but got some good hot dogs, and the White Sox are on the uptick. So hope my team makes the playoffs, even though we won't talk about it on here.
No, you know what I would talk about the game? My boy Ayo Dosunmu of the Chicago Bulls throwing a little pitch, man. Throwing a little pitch, man. First pitch.
It was actually a good throw, too. Made it
He's
over
an athlete, man. That boy's an athlete, man.
So was Conor McGregor, and his was pretty bad.
Yo, God, Conor's
there have been some bad ones, man.
Conor can't throw he can't throw a football or a pitch. Like, it's pretty bad. Yeah, nice. Conor's got to kind of figure that out. But I guess, he's got the UFC down locked. But speaking of, I guess you could say Chicago sports and things like that, like there might be some receivers on the Chicago Bears that we may talk about, because we're going to be talking about the receivers today. They're not as important as running backs, but they can, if you draft well, make or break your season with like so many other positions in fantasy. So I wanted to ask the guys basically how we did running backs last week, but stock up and stock down. Who are some of their favorites? We all know the well-known commodities, but some guys that may be trending up, trending down, and also some rookies to look at. So, P. Bush, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I won't take it to the Darnell Mooney spot. I actually didn't even have any notes on him.
I set you up on a platter.
I know you did. But I thought I was like, I've damn near mentioned his name pretty much every podcast, I feel like, the past couple. So I do think he's got uptick, but I think a lot of people are kind of seeing his value now. So
thank you, and go Bears!
I think he's actually being drafted a little high, in my opinion. But I'm looking at another guy, man. I'm looking at Michael Pittman out of Indianapolis.
That's a good pick.
I think a good stock up guy. I think that there's some concerns here, but also, he's a clear-cut number one. I mean, Paris Campbell, I think, I don't know his contract situation. I believe they had Zach Pascal as well, kind of as the number two. They do use their tight ends a lot. I think that that's something to keep in mind. But, Michael Pittman, man, look at it. He finished, I believe, around the 17 mark in full point PPR last year. I do think his touchdown production is something to be wary of. And I think that's mainly because of Jonathan Taylor. Yeah. So Jonathan Taylor is actually kind of a positive and negative for Pittman, because Pittman's going to get those down the field balls when they're able to run play action with Matt Ryan because of the threat of Jonathan Taylor. So he's up for some big gains. We saw him have a lot of deep balls over 40 yards last year, and that's with Carson Wentz. Matt Ryan is a pretty damn good deep ball thrower. Obviously, he's getting up there, but I do think that he'll take this Colts passing game to a slightly next level compared to Carson. But, man, the only thing is the red zone touches, man. The Colts love to use their tight ends, and they love to use Jonathan Taylor in that red zone, as they should. They have the best offensive line in the league. So I do think that Pittman has an upside to maybe get more targets this year, even, maybe more receiving yards, but just take into account where you're drafting him, because his tight end efficiency touchdown efficiency might not be there altogether. So definitely a stock up guy year over year. I think he's going to get the volume. You just better cross your fingers that he's going to get those red zone opportunities.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man. Like Matty Ice, man, he force feeding wide receivers, like historically out of the Atlanta teams, man. From the Roddy Weiss, the Julio Jones, to the Calvin Ridley. So he has a track record of having the go-to receiver and just giving him the ball a million times. So I feel like his receptions this year is going to go up. His yards last year had over 1,000 yards already in his second year as a second-year receiver with Carson Wentz. Matty Ice is an upgrade. Matty Ice might be old, but he's
even at his age.
Yeah, but now Pittman, man, he's going like fourth round. That's like his actual value. But if he goes third, I can't do it. But fifth round value, man, that's a
number
value.
One. You're getting a number one
receiver, and I think
in an easy division.
Yeah, easy division. I think it's a good offense. Is definitely, I think, is an above average offense with that O line and Matty Ice. So I like that pick in Pittman, man. But for me, man, I'm going down to KC, man. Juju Smith-Schuster, man.
Checking
Juju
out my
Smith-Schuster, man. Oh, yeah, on your list, man?
Yep.
People forget how young Juju is, man. The dude's 25 years old. Obviously, starts his career on the Steelers, man, just killing. Like him and AB just killing people, man. Like his ability to get touchdowns. Like physically, I don't think there's anything that's special about him. I don't think he's that fast. I don't think he's that skilled. But his ability to get touchdowns when he started out his career, man, and you're going to get an opportunity to play with Patrick Mahomes, who's in need of a wide receiver one. and you got a rookie coming in. You don't know about him yet, man. Like Miko Hardman, everybody knows what Miko Hardman is now, man. He's just a gadget player, man. He's a little speedy, quick little dude, man. Do little fancy plays, but he ain't no wide receiver. Like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, like he's a deep threat. That's pretty much it. He catches 1 or 2 balls, man, for like 50 yards, man. That's pretty much all he's gonna do. So Juju Smith-Schuster, outside of Travis Kelce, man, can be the number one like passing option on that team. And one guy on that team is gonna go off. Like, Mahomes is going to feed, because Mahomes is going to throw for 4,000 yards. Easy, right?
Easily.
So the yards got to go somewhere. So with the whole of Tyreek Hill, like, those yards are going to go to someone, and I got my money on Juju Smith-Schuster, man. And if you get him in the 6th, 7th round for a potential guy that finished top 12 receiver this year, and this guy's young and talented, like, people forget, this guy was like a 4th-round pick, like, a couple years ago with Big
Great rookie year.
And now you got Patrick Mahomes throwing the football. Have mercy, man. Have mercy if he takes the role as the number 1 receiver. Because get in the 7th round, bargain, man.
Yeah,
man. That's a bargain.
To your point, Zoo, I think I was looking at the stats of the Chiefs with all the guys they're losing, and obviously, they lost Byron Pringle, right? A couple other guys, Demarcus Robinson, all those guys. But they, Tyreek's the big one, but they left 2,500 yards in receiving gone. Once all those guys walked this year. Now, they bring in MVS. They draft Sky Moore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are those guys going to make up the difference? I mean, Juju's looking at a pretty clear-cut, easy 1,100 yard season, in my opinion. The targets, I do think Travis Kelce will just continuously get that little 10-yard stop and turn, catch and run for another 10 yards. His typical 20 a play. But Zoo, to your point, I like the bubble screen action that Mahomes likes. The quick little slant routes.
Yep.
And if you got a couple deep guys that can threaten it, it's just going to open up the middle of the field for Kelce and Juju. So, like I said, man, second on my stock up as well. But yeah, man, hopefully he just doesn't curse the team with his TikTok dances this time. Let's hope.
I think he'll be a whole lot more focused.
I think so. I think Andy Reid will get in his head otherwise.
I think Ben Roethlisberger tried as much as he could, but I mean, he was on the way out, so I don't know how much he was really dialed into trying to get the receivers in Pittsburgh to be on the same page. Those are 2 guys that were on my stock up for sure, especially Juju, because like you say, I know everybody's excited about the rookie, but we haven't seen him play. So it's like you can't really put him and be like, oh, he's going to be a guy that's going to be a, for anything, he may be a 3rd receiver this year. But I think a guy that I also like plays for the Rams now. This is no shade to Justin Fields. I think he's going to take a nice little step this year.
I know what guy is saying.
I think Allen Robinson is going to have
the 3rd on my list.
That's on my list too, man. Hey, Rob.
Like you say, Fields is going to have his progression, but Matthew Stafford, seeing how he did with Cooper Kupp, him being the triple crown, he's not doing that again. There's just no way that he's going to be able to have that production. So somebody has to eat. And with Allen Robinson coming in, I think he's going to be able to show why he was the number 1 in Chicago for a couple of years. It just makes so much sense. Like, they like to throw the ball. Stafford still got a lot of juice. Cooper Kupp, I still think he's going to get a lot of targets because he just knows how to run routes and get open. But Allen Robinson's going to be a beneficiary of that. I don't know what round I guess I would take him in. You guys are a little bit better at that. But
his ADP's round 6, 7, 8. That's his range.
Yeah. So I mean, if you could get him, I would actually, out of all those 3, Juju to me is the most enticing because it just feels like the targets are really going to be there because in the receiving core, he's definitely, I think, going to be the number 1 option. Now, somebody could step up, but if I have to put money on it, I'm going to say Juju. So out of those 3, I probably would draft Juju, but Allen Robinson has a lot of talent, and I think last year he was just frustrated with Fields, which he's a rookie quarterback, and if you're a star receiver, you're going to, unless the rookie quarterback is God, like you're going to want a guy that can get you the ball, and him going to LA is just, I think, the perfect fit. So I think that's why he's signed there. I actually got a couple of questions. So like you say, people which I think made this point before the pod, like it's kind of hard to do like the stock up and stock down with the receivers. But there's 4 receivers that I was looking at like in their tiers. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you could say they're in the same tier, but they're like, I want to say they're not on the same. Well, they are on the same team, but they're kind of going to be battling for, like, I guess you would say receptions. So I want to ask you guys so we can go to the Chargers, Mike Williams or Keenan Allen. Who would you draft first?
Oh, Easy.
First,
Keenan Allen, man. Keenan Allen, man. Keenan Allen.
I'm thinking that too, but
Mike Williams. This dude is the definition of he wins you weeks and he loses you weeks, man. Yeah. I can't stand those types of dudes.
I have him. I can attest to that.
He's in the Tyler Lockett mode. He goes off for 30 points. Next week, drops a donut. And he's just sitting there with a donut as your wide receiver, too. Like, I can't deal with donuts because ability to boom and bust. Like, he's hyper talented. He got paid. He got paid $20 million. $20 million.
They need a guy like that. Every team needs a guy like him.
But Keenan Allen, all this dude does is catch you 6-7 balls and gets you like 80 yards at least.
So I was reading, like they were talking about how Jamar Chase, like they were making a comparison because when I was looking at the tiers, like Mike Williams was like above Keenan, but they're like basically the same tier. Yeah. But like I was looking, they were talking about how like T Higgins like ate off of Jamar Chase, and I was like, because a lot of people are like people still going to pick Jamar Chase, but like T Higgins is getting a lot of love because of the year he had last year, and I'm just like, and Keenan Allen's actually been in the league for 10 years, so it's like, is there going to be any regression? Maybe like, and, you know, Justin Herbert being a better quarterback, like Mike Williams is a more athletic receiver, can get open. So I thought that was interesting because it's like I still would pick Keenan Allen, but Mike Williams is going to be like really interesting because I don't know, maybe he takes a lead. The other two that I've been stuck on for real is Sutton and Jeudy.
Oh, that's the ultimate debate,
more than Jeudy, but it's like, really? It's like I don't know which one I would take out of those two. That's a real toss-up for me.
I think the poll that you put up today had what? Wasn't Jeudy favored?
Yeah, Jeudy was favored.
When I checked, it was.
It was really? Jeudy was favored. Jeudy, I think Jeudy last was favored 60 to 40, maybe 60-30.
I think it's because of the volume. Like Sutton's going to get the chunk, right? Like they're going to throw down. He's a bigger receiver. Big plays, getting you that 40-yard catch, right? Immediate 4 points to your fantasy team, plus, you know, half a point or a full point if you're in PPR. Mm-hmm. That's great to see. But if you want the guy that's going to Zoo's point, this is kind of like, I would actually attribute it, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I think Courtland Sutton is going to have the boomer bust games with Russell Wilson. And I think Jerry Jeudy's, if he can stay healthy, is going to get more of that volume, you know, 6-7 catches, 90 yards. If he's open, he might get a touchdown here or there, finish with like, you know, 5 or 6 touchdowns on the year. But if you're looking for a PPR monster and you're in full point, I would pick Jeudy over Sutton. But it's Russell Wilson, so it's like, you know, his deep ball is prime.
Dude, the deep ball, man. Sutton is the big, tall guy that runs straight down, man.
And you got,
he's like DK for him.
Not an easy.
Yeah, that's my comp, man. It's like the big Kelvin Johnson type prototype that runs down and gets deep ball threats. And I like Sutton's pedigree more. His history, like I already seen 1,000 yards out of Courtland Sutton, and his quarterback was Drew Lock. Like 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. His rookie year, 700 tutties, 4 tutties, man. Like my lord, I know Drew Lock injuries, and then the only reason he was irrelevant last year, he got injured, and the year before he was injured again. So just getting hit by injuries, that's the bug, man. That injury bug, man, that's a little scary. But the thing is, your investment in Courtland Sutton is not that high. You could get him in the seventh round right now. So that's like a pretty, like if he busts, whatever. But his upside because Russell Wilson will produce one stud receiver, like guaranteed. Like the history of
at least one.
At least one. So it's me, Jeudy, coin flip right now. I'm going with Sutton, the bigger guy, and his history because Jeudy, I haven't seen anything yet. Like he was a great college wide receiver, but the numbers so far, like, I haven't seen anything. Obviously, the QB situation is a little sus, but I haven't seen a history of him producing yards yet. So I'm like, I got a little more resume from Courtland Sutton, so I'm leaning Sutton over Jeudy.
All right, yeah. Like I said, I just saw those two. Like when I was doing the research of like the tiers and like the receivers, I saw those 4 receivers. Like 2 of those guys were on the same team, so I was just thinking like maybe it's like, who would I choose out of those 4? But I guess now we can go towards trending down. This was a tough one for me too. I only had a few guys that I could see trending down from where I think they could be. What do you guys think, Zoo?
I got Deebo Samuels, man. Deebo Samuels, man. Dude, I love Deebo as a talent, but the QB situation, obviously. I'm telling you, the QB situation, man. Jimmy G, man, like he's average. He's average QB. He's actually a little good accuracy. Like Trey Lance is a wild card. This guy's going to run the ball. They might use more creative plays and making him more of a rusher because Deebo Samuel's ability to run the ball is why I like him in fantasy football. Like as a receiving yards, I don't see this guy getting be one of those guys get 1,100 receiving yards. The guy was used as a running back, and he was amazing as a running back last year. And his ability to converge on tutties last year, unsustainable.
Cooper Cup level.
Yeah, exactly. So if he's going in the second round, like Deebo Samuels, because last year he was picked probably like 9th, 10th, or 11th round, obviously bouncing back from injury, and people were scared of his injury. But after that, man, coming back and having that great of a year, 18 fantasy points and half-point PPR, that is a virtuoso season. Backing that up again with a change in situation. And I feel like Brandon Ayuk might step it up again this year and come in camp a little better shape. So
dynasty wide receiver.
Yeah, maybe Brandon Ayuk show people what he's really was, because a lot of people like Ayuk last year. A lot of people. And obviously he was a bust. He was a bust. He was unplayable in the first half of the season. He was legitimately unplayable. He was dropped in a lot of the leagues I was in. He stepped it up a little at the end of the season, but I feel like he could steal more targets from Deebo Samuel this year and might become the best, highest producing wide receiver this year. So if you get a discount in the 10th round that potentially can match Deebo Samuel's receiving totals, I'm taking the cheaper option, man. I'm taking the cheaper one.
Yeah, so you're saying like where he's going this year is just not.
Yeah, it's just too high. If Deebo was going late third, okay, I'll consider it. Yeah. But second, first round, my God, you get RBs, man. Come on, man.
He's an RB. What are you talking about?
He is an RB, but I don't know if we're going to use him like an RB, man. I don't know.
You can use him as an RB3, though. I think you could use him in like that flex position, right? Like that's
flex.
If you were to really, if you to Zoo your point, late third round, if you get two solid running backs in the first two, and you're looking at, who's on the board, maybe like a DK Metcalf or something like that, and you're looking like, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think Deebo's lasting that long, though.
He's going second round in most.
I've seen him mostly late second round in the couple that I've done, but I mean that's a good one. Yeah. That's a good one. I mean, I think there's two that stand out. I think one's super obvious, and I don't think we really need to get into this because we covered it last week. Tyler Lockett is for sure one for me. Just to Zoo your point, he was streaky with Russell Wilson. Mm-hmm. All right. And now he has Drew Lock, which we've talked about, and I don't foresee him doing pretty much anything. So obviously it might be hard to pass up if he continues to fall.
He's going pretty late though. But that's the thing. It's crazy how late he's going, because he's pretty good. But the situation.
But he's already streaky, and now you add in a streakier quarterback situation, it just doesn't come off right for me.
He gets open, that's why. He gets open, so I think that's why people like him a little bit. But
hitting the open man, we'll see if he can do that. So.
Yeah.
And the other one I have, I think, is also kind of an obvious situation, is Amari Cooper, man. I really don't want to touch him with a 10-foot pole this year. Sad to say, I've heard some rumors they might go for Jimmy G if Deshaun Watson's out for the year. The Browns could be a possible destination for Jimmy. But even if he's there, I really don't think Amari's going to have an unbelievable season as a number one wideout out there. So I'm really not touching any pass catchers on the Browns. I think they're all stocked down this year. Granted, most of them left. But I'm not touching Amari Cooper, which is sad to say, because I think going forward, once Deshaun's back, this is all behind him. Hopefully, once it's resolved and he goes through his punishment, I do think that Amari Cooper will be a stud in fantasy, but I'm hoping he just loses even more value going into next season. So this year, I'm not touching him. But yeah, it was kind of hard to find other stock down guys. So I don't know. You guys have
you took one of my guys, Amari. I think that was just clear cut. No Deshaun. We don't know when he's coming back. And I like Brissett, but no, Brissett's not going to be able to get it done. Yeah, it's too much uncertainty there. Now I made this list probably earlier in the week, and not early week, but before I saw Pittsburgh's quarterbacks in preseason, and Deontay Johnson was the guy for me that was going to be an obvious stock down, because who knows what's going to happen at quarterback. But I think I might mend that.
The stud, right?
He gets open, and I was trying to trade for Deontay Johnson all last year, could not get him, and it was a reason why, because he always gets a bunch of targets and he gets open. But after I saw the couple preseason games, I know it was one preseason game. We don't know who's going to be the starter, but it made me, it kind of made me think maybe the quarterback position won't be a freaking abject disaster with the Steelers. So and that may keep Deontay Johnson at least in that running to be, guess kind of on par with what he's usually been. So he's kind of a guy I took off. So I had to really dig into the files of guys, and I came across Adam Thielen as a guy that may be a stock down. So I started looking at some of the research stuff of what does Thielen do? I knew he gets a crap load of touchdowns. I got here. He
he's surprisingly money in the red zone.
Yeah, he gets so many touchdowns, targets in the end zone. It's insane how many targets he gets. And since 2020, they say he's had 24 touchdowns. But I was looking at his chart of his touchdowns and his yards and targets. he doesn't have that doesn't reflect someone who like his targets and yards doesn't reflect the amount of touchdowns he gets. So like a lot of it might have just been happenstance. Plus, too, I didn't know he was 32 years old. He's an older receiver, and he was hurt a lot last year. So I'm thinking like maybe because Justin Jefferson is going to take another step and he's going to be, a true number one, which he's already proven to be. Dalvin Cook's going to be a guy. I know they said the guy that we may talk about later, Irv Smith Jr., a tight end. He's a guy that was hurt last year, but his rookie year, I think in 2020, he was like, serviceable to really good.
Learned from Kyle Rudolph before he left.
Yep. Yeah, so that's a guy that I was thinking of as like maybe a guy that could maybe take a step back. But yeah, there's not just in terms of like receivers. I didn't see any other guys that were obvious stock downs because some of these are just like, if you where they get drafted at is where you would probably draft them. Like I don't see anybody you could reach on.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. T. Higgins, man. T. Higgins' ADP is very surprising, man. Going in the third round in a lot of drafts. Like where guys thought of T. Higgins? Because obviously he's young, but he's clearly the number 2 option. So pretty much they're betting that Joe Burrows is going to be able to support 2 top 10 wide receivers this year again, pretty much.
I think all those guys are going to go down, but I don't know. Third round for T.
Yeah, I'm like third round for T. Higgins. That's
tough. That's tough.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm just like, I'm good. I'll take a wide receiver.
I want him, and I want T. Higgins this year.
Yeah. I want him, but
where is he going?
Because I'm looking at T. Higgins going third round, or you could go like 5 rounds later and maybe get a Rashad Bateman, and Allen Robinson. Because like these guys are there might be wide receiver 1s, wide receiver 2s on elite offenses. So
does Bateman not scare you sometimes though? Because they're just their offense.
He scares me a lot.
Yeah, it scares me. But Marquise Brown surprisingly was pretty productive last year.
Yeah,
when Lamar Jackson played. So he had like 23% target share. So I feel like Rashad Bateman, this guy's a rookie first round pick, man. Was injured last year, but when he started playing, man, you saw the skill set. Like his skill set, man, like a little comps, a little Justin Jeff in there, man, little shades of that. I'm like, okay, I got me looking at him right now.
He's got the number 1 receiver build,
yeah. He's got the body. He just looks like a wide receiver 1. So I don't know, offense that's going to be able to get down the field pretty easily, man. Maybe gives more couple more tutties this year.
Speaking of the Ravens offense, Mark Andrews with transitioning. Or no, hold up, got to do rookies. Forgot for receivers. I guess I can go first with the rookies. So again, there's so many rookie receivers that come in and they can transition really well, but a lot of this to me has to do with the quarterback. I feel like if you have a really good quarterback, then the transition as a rookie receiver might be good. So I was digging and I was looking at the Packers camp because, we've been lamenting the Packers, like who is going to be receiver 1? Like everybody knows Allen Lazard's going to start off there, but who knows if he's going to finish off being the number 1 receiver. He's just going to be there as a placeholder. So I was doing like some research looking into Packers camp. And I saw this guy, I think he was in the 4th round, Romeo Doubs.
Oh.
No, Christian, I think he was in the 2nd. Christian's been hurt, though. I think he just came back. He was actually Trey Lance's teammate, I think, at North Dakota State. But he's like they drafted him in the beginning of the 2nd round. He's like the big vertical threat. So he might come on later, but he's been hurt a lot at the camp. But Romeo Doubs is a guy that they drafted from Nevada. He's about 6'2", 195. I think the reason why he kind of fell that far is because he ran like a 4.5, 4.6-ish kind of 40 times. So it's like it's not blazing for a receiver. But I was reading some stuff on camp. Like they said he was coming into camp and he was cooking all of like the free agent DBs and the DBs that's like got drafted, whatever. So okay, that's like standard if you're
not
drafted. Yeah. No. But then Jair was getting, like they said in camp, Jair was getting pissed because he was like cooking these DBs and like, talking this shit. So then Jair's like, okay, like all right, we're gonna understand this is what you're gonna be. You're gonna be a 4th round receiver. You're not gonna come up here and like, mess with, I guess, an all pro bowler type of guy. And I love Jair because he's like one of the more underrated corners. He never gets talked about. But apparently they were saying in camp that Jair was locking him down for the most part. But then like as practices went on, he started getting the best of him. And they saying it's because he runs routes really well. And then there was a play in the game against the 49ers where Zoo's boy, what's his name? It's not Trey Lance, but Jordan Love had like a nice little to Romeo Doubs on the money. And I was like, Romeo looked good on that route. So I was like, and then Aaron Rodgers just said some. He said he had it actually was a duck, but it's like it got to him, but it just didn't look good. But so like Aaron Rodgers said some positive things about him. So I'm thinking to myself, like, out of all the elite quarterbacks, this receiving core is not the best. So if I'm looking for a rookie that may get a chance, And the fact that he went up against Jair and like got the best of him on a couple of routes, I thought it was pretty good. One thing that I did see that was insane. So I don't know if you guys know who Greg Cosell is. He's like a guy who does NFL stuff, like NFL films. I think he does a lot of stuff with the NFL. I don't know how I came across this, but it was on Twitter. So they were doing the pre-draft stuff of like, what the prospect would be. And you know who he got compared to?
Who?
Devontae Adams. Oh. He got compared to Devontae Adams. You can look it up. I need to sit in the chat. I'm gonna sit in the chat. But it was like kind of weird how he got compared to him and then he got drafted to the Packers. So I'm not saying he's not Devontae, but they're saying just in terms of his reliability, because Aaron likes rookies that be in their spot. So it's like if he's able to keep making that position, I think it's not hard to think that he can maybe push Lazard, maybe in the middle of the season to being like a nice number 2 to number 1 option for the Packers. Because Sky Moore's another guy, but I don't know.
Oh yeah,
I was gonna say Sky Moore.
That was my guy. That was my guy because I would probably do a Juju Sky Moore stack, man. Because you can get both those guys pretty late, and you're just hoping one of them hits. That's all you're hoping for. You're gonna get one of those.
He is fast, though.
Yeah, he's pretty fast. His route running is pretty good too, so I like that, man. But man, that Green Bay wide receiver core, man, I can't figure it out, man. Because one of them is gonna get 1,000 yards, just because you're playing with Aaron Rodgers. But Alan Lazard, I'm just like, this dude just does not look like a wide receiver one, man. No. Not even a little, man.
He's a filler.
He's going for 1,500 this year. Watch, confirmed.
He's gonna get the triple crown.
Man, if freaking Alan Lazard goes out 1,200 yards, 8 tutties, man. Don't skip a beat. I'll be blown away. But man, right? I can't figure that out, man. Because like Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't really like rookie wide receivers. That's the thing. Like historically in his career. Like he doesn't get them numbers.
He might have to this year.
Might have to. Like I swear to God, an option. I swear to God, Aaron Jones is gonna be a freaking wide receiver this year.
Yeah,
like that's who's gonna turn out
1,800 total scrimmage yards.
He gets like 1,000 receiving yards at the RB.
Yeah, he might have crazy all-purpose numbers.
I'm telling you,
he might have crazy all-purpose numbers.
You'll have to, and he looks force feeding to him. Like in the playoffs, he was force feeding Aaron Jones. So I feel like he's gonna go into his own reliable, which is pretty weird because your boy AJ Dillon's gonna be cooking. So Aaron Jones will be out there, man, at the slot, man. So who knows what's going on with the Packers, man? Can't figure them out.
I got Chris Olave, man.
That's a nice choice. Speed,
dude. I think, speed, big play. I just love I hope Gus Johnson calls some Saints games, man, because I just want to hear him yell Chris Olave down the field. Down the sideline, I should say.
Olave.
Yeah. But look, man, if Michael Thomas stays healthy, which per all reports, it looks like he is.
Yeah. It's been a while since we saw him play.
Yeah, and we know when he is healthy, Slant Boy himself can eat. And when he eats, the people around him will. I also think, with Alvin Kamara's uncertainty, with his suspension possibly, they might be relying more on the pass game. I'm thinking
he may not get suspended.
He might not be.
Reports are saying that. He's getting pushed.
But if he does, and even if he doesn't, I still think Jameis is going to want to let him fly. Yeah. And we all know Olave is a better down the field threat than Michael Thomas is. But I think that's a perfect complement for each other. He's like a 6-foot frame, not huge, but a good, that's good route running size. That's good speed size. He's just kind of an intermixing of all aspects you'd want in a stud wide receiver. So, these rookie wide receivers, there's a lot of them. I think Garrett Wilson might be a little bit more risky than a Chris Olave. That's
especially with the Zach Wilson injury.
Yeah, and purely because of this quarterback situation. Exactly. So, Chris Olave is one I'm looking at, man. I think he's going to have a pretty big year if his wide receiving room can stay healthy and Jameis stays healthy.
You know why I didn't? You know why I knew? I think, and I haven't seen the reports that Zoo was maybe talking about, but the reason why I think Alvin Kamara is not maybe going to get suspended is because I've been doing a bunch of mocks with like real humans and stuff, and like Alvin Kamara is taking really high. Yeah, he's getting like at the beginning of the second round, so it's like I think he's not going to get suspended.
And there were reports that pretty much his suspension, like if it's going to happen, it's going to happen next year. So
interesting. Because the case won't be resolved.
Yeah, exactly. But my biggest fear is they do like a suspension at the end of the year with the playoffs on the line.
Well, that would be
a disaster. That would be because that could happen. Like you suspend like the last.
I'd boycott if I had.
And I would freak out if like you kill him. Playoffs, he's suspended. So that's my fear because I don't think he's gonna miss like the first couple of weeks because of this.
That's where if you're an insider, if like maybe you're playing fantasy and you're like a pseudo NFL insider, you could trade him like maybe a couple weeks before he like you get him off your books and like sucker somebody into taking him.
That's the definition of insider trading,
or something.
Man.
Yeah. You're Matt Berry's nephew, and it's just like, yo, Yeah, maybe that'll be a situation.
God damn.
Really quickly, tight ends. Just gonna be completely honest. We were talking about this before the pod. It's only a few tight ends that you would want, and it's worth taking. So I'm gonna ask the guys. They could maybe give you some stock up, stock down guys. But P. Bush, who you looking at tight end wise?
All right, I'll give you two quick ones. I'll give you one that I'm, to Zoo's point, I think, his old regression to the mean. I think Mark Andrews is going to regress a bit. And the reason is because 2 years ago, the Ravens had a bottom 5 passing attempt offense in the league. Everybody gets injured in their running back room, and they throw 200 more passing attempts last year than they did in 2020. If Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins are healthy and they're continuing to use Lamar, who can also stay healthy, Mark Andrews is not getting the red zone targets that he was getting last year, and they're just not going to be throwing the ball as much. I think they'll find a happy medium, but I think he's going to regress a bit. A guy that I'm looking for, and I had last year, and a lot of people are not giving him credit, is Kyle Pitts, man. I think he had the best rookie tight end season of all time. He
Really?
has no metrics compared to any other rookie tight end. The only metric
Yeah, 1,000, didn't he?
1,000 yards. 1,000 yards.
So here you go. Listen to this, Zoo. You're gonna like this. The only comparisons you can make are actually rookie wide receiver numbers, in which he rivals Mike Evans, Keenan Allen's, Justin Jefferson's, and Jamar Chase's rookie seasons.
Based on receiving yards.
We're based on receiving yards and receptions. Receptions as well. He was the highest targeted on the team last year. Bringing Drake London in. I know Marcus Mariota's not, the best passing. But look, man, with his ability to run, it's going to open up wide open down the field with the threat of Marcus running. And Desmond Ridder didn't look too bad, in my opinion.
He didn't look too bad.
He didn't look too
bad. He might take Mariota's job. He
will by the end of the
Ridder.
year.
Yeah.
He will by the end of the year. So I think Kyle Pitts, a lot of people are sleeping on him. He's mainly, I've been seeing him go in that 4th-ish round. I think that's a solid value for him.
Okay,
if he ends up giving you wide receiver numbers.
P-Bish right now, real draft. You're at the 28th pick. Are you drafting him? Kyle
in
Pitts.
The 28th pick in the draft?
28th pick. So third round. Late
third
round?
No.
Yeah.
No. But I do think that he's going to get more touchdowns this year than he did last year. I think they're just going to rely on him more.
Man, the touchdowns was tough.
He had 1,000 yards in what a lot of people consider to be one of the worst offenses in the league, and people still weren't talking about him. And so I don't know. I think his stock up is this year, and I think he might actually have a better season than Mark Andrews.
And the easiest pass to make on the field, the easiest pass for a quarterback is to throw to the tight end. So it's not like having to throw it to a receiver. Like if you can't throw it to the tight end, then Desmond Ridder will be starting soon.
Man, and he's the best tight end prospect ever.
That's what they said. That's what they said. That's what they say. So
he's a wide receiver.
I believe his talent. I'm just a little sus about the QB situation with Matty Ice out of there. But for me, man, I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboy guy, Dalton Schultz, man. Dalton Schultz. I'm just looking at that receiver room, man. Obviously, Amari Cooper gone, Gallup injured, Jarwin, like all these guys out. Dak's going to have to pass it to someone, man. He's going to have to pass it to him. He's been passing a lot more than recently because in the past, he used to be run first and run second with Ezekiel Elliott dominating the ball. They've been throwing it a little more. So, man, Dak Prescott outside of CeeDee Lamb, man, Dalton Schultz in the red zone last year was actually pretty impressive. Like, I didn't know who this guy was. Like, because they had 2 of these white tight ends. So I got
Jarwin.
Jarwin, like Dalton. I got confused with who they were when I was watching the games, man. So obviously Dalton Schultz stepping up last year, man. His participation on routes, man. Third over on routes run, man. He got a lot of routes in, and this guy's always in the red zone, so money time. So Dak Prescott, man, I feel like him as finding a second receiving option, man. Dalton Schultz in like the 7th, 8th round. Okay, I'm taking him. He's on a good offense, man. So that's my guy. Dalton
I think
Schultz this year.
He's a nice pick too because he's probably going to be their clear cut number 2 option in the passing game because that Michael Gallup I don't think is all the way back.
Don't forget Tony Pollard.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about Tony Pollard.
Don't forget about the backup running back, man.
Number 2, he might be actually the number 2 passing option. He might be out of the backfield. He might be.
Geez.
No, but you're right.
They might be fighting for reception.
Dalton is number 2 for sure as of right now.
Yeah, as of right now, because they don't have any other receivers. Which is we didn't bring up CD. Like CD might make a real bolt this year because Dak and them they're king at that. Like they get down by a lot and they just start playing fast break, football where they're just throwing
Dak is the every king down. Of garbage time, man.
He's the king of garbage time, bro. Like
won me leagues that way.
Yeah, so like that might put CD in a huge target race. But Zoo's guy, man. I don't know. I think you said you drafted him, Mike Gesicki, man. I just like him this year.
Oh.
I like him this year. Man.
I got
gonna be
PTSD, man. I got PTSD of this dude getting 0 points, man.
Yeah, I think too. Man. I think people are gonna obviously be keen on Tyreek and Jalen. However you want to pick those guys, you can do that. But Tua's strengths, I feel like people want to say he doesn't lack for arm strength, but I think his strengths is throwing in the middle of the field and throwing those routes that are underneath. And I think Gesicki, just off the presence of Tyreek eating on the outside and going on go routes and going on long, deep posts, I think that's going to help out his ability to be open. Now, he needs to catch the ball, and he needs to be able to show that he can catch it and actually go upfield. But, I actually did a couple reels on him, I want to say last year, maybe year before that. But I did some reels on him, and he's an athletic tight end. Yeah, so there's no reason he has the base to be a good tight end. He just, like you say, needs to catch the ball and be someone who can, feed in that middle area. But that just goes to show you I just don't have any faith in any other tight ends. Like you say, any tight end with Tom Brady is probably a good option because he loves to throw to the tight end. So I guess you could pick one from him. I don't know any stock down guys for tight end. Like say you said for the Bills.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's just some guys like I would consider Hawkinson probably a stock up this year just because
stock up. Really?
That's not bad. I had Hawkinson. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Look, Goff has another year under offense. Their offensive coordinator was a tight end.
I'm not mad
coach.
at that one, no.
I'm not kidding. That offensive coordinator loves to utilize tight ends, man. And Hawkinson's like a top 5 talent-wise tight end in the league, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Out of Iowa, they produce great tight ends, man. You got, I think Freiermuth's out of there. You got Kittle out of there. You got Hawkinson out of there. It's all if he can stay healthy. And I could be wrong on Freiermuth there, but the only thing is he could lose targets, but he could also earn more targets because he might be more open. Because
they got better receivers. They got a good running game. 2 good backs. Yeah, exactly. That's not a bad. I totally forgot about Hawkinson, but I had him. He's a nice, But like you say, a lot of these tight ends, man, is who freaking
kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah, like I said, I had rookies. Jelani Woods for the Colts. They said he's a good specimen, just in terms of his size, and even though they have Mo Alley Cox, he could be a compliment to him. Cade Otton, I was just talking about freaking Bucks. Tight end there. Mm-hmm. Gronk's not there no more, so maybe behind Brady, he could be a guy. Brady likes to throw to the tight ends, but tight ends, man, they're just, like you say, if you don't get Kelsey, Andrews, Zach Ertz, like you say, Kyle Pitts, if you don't get some of those guys, you can just wait till whenever to get a tight end. Like you said, there could be one that just builds up or, opens up and becomes a star. Who knows? I'm not big on him. And another receiver that I forgot to mention for rookies is George Pickens.
There you go.
I don't know what he's going to do this year, but I'm interested to see if the quarterback play is just solid in Pittsburgh. Does he start battling Claypool for snaps, just in terms of that receiver too? Because we all know Deontay is the number one, but George Pickens has looked not just good in that preseason game with just getting a toe tap in the corner. He's really good, he didn't even really show us at Georgia, underneath, he's faster than I thought he was. Big body receiver, 6'4", and I just always trust Steelers receivers. They're going to produce. Like you say, Juju was there. He got traded to Kansas City. It's not because he wasn't talented. It's just, they just know how to draft receivers, so they have the luxury to, trade them off. So that's just another receiver I want to look into. But like you said,
I saw him do the AB dance, man.
Yeah.
if he anything close to an AB, man, I miss AB so much. Man. I need a new AB in the league, man. I need one. I need one.
Kind of controversy.
I like it. I love it. I love it. I need the cockiness. I need the talent to back up the cockiness to get. If you get 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns, average over a 5-year span, be cocky, man. I want a TO. I want an AB in the league again, man. Yeah. I need one of those guys.
He's just another guy I wanted to mention.
That's far enough, Rebel.
But like you say, receivers, they're important for your fantasy team. Just make sure you don't reach on some. Make sure you find some gems in the later rounds. But, tight ends, like we just said, it's just not that many. So good luck if you're drafting the tight ends this year. But for fantasy, that's all we're going to be talking about tonight for that, receivers and tight ends. You guys make sure you tune in next week. We're going to be kind of going over a lot of awards, some predetermined things on how we think the season is going to go. So make sure you lock into that. Make sure you also follow us on YouTube, Quantrell Knows. Follow us on Instagram, bullheaded_pod. Make sure you rate, review on iTunes, all that, Spotify, Google Podcasts. 5 stars, greatly appreciate it. And from me to P. Bush,